In my previous video essay, we've looked into the history of Black Box Studios, discussing their highs and lows and why they got axed from developing any more games. Today, however, we will talk about the modern studios that worked on these games, such as Criterion and Ghost Games, and ultimately see what happened to them and where they led the Need for Speed series. So sit back and relax, get some popcorn as we dive into the downfall of the modern Need for Speed games. Now I know what you might be thinking, this is called the downfall of modern Need for Speed games, and I'm talking about this game in particular. This is not where I think it started, but I'm just covering all the games Criterion and Ghost made in this decade. So with Hot Pursuit, there's two versions of this game, the original 2010 release and the 2020 Remastered edition. For the sake of this video, I played on the remastered version, but I will add bits and pieces that existed in the original game. It was around this time Criterion was still working with the Burnout games and they wanted to try a new challenge. So they asked EA if they could try making a Need for Speed title, and to their surprise, the project was approved and they began working on Need for Speed Hot Pursuit 2010. While Black Box at the time had their hands busy with Need for Speed The Run. The last Hot Pursuit game that we had was all the way at the start for Black Box Studios with Hot Pursuit 2. This was made on Criterion's Chameleon engine, and in 2010 they fully released this game. As the name mentioned, you have both a racer and a cop career in this game. With the racer side, you have 5 tiers of cars that you gradually unlock as you do the races, such as normal events, time trials, and Hot Pursuit events. While on the cop side, you also had 5 tiers of cars with its own set of events. You had rapid responses, interceptor missions, and Hot Pursuit as well. The game is set in Seacrest County, which is a diverse open world with lots of coastline, desert sections, forests, and even mountain areas. The gameplay is fairly simple to understand. You race, you win, and you progress. The way to obtain cars in here is set around your bounty. The higher it is, the more cars you will unlock throughout the game, and in total there are about 20 levels for each side, and by the time you're close to finishing this game, you will most likely have all of them unlocked. Some have ridiculous bounty requirements, like in order to get this 370Z, which is in the first series, you need to have 1 million bounty to unlock it. And to get to level 20, you need 2 million bounties, so that's 10 levels just for one car in the first series. The car list from the 2010 release and the 2020 release have slight changes due to licensing issues. Cars such as the SLR, Sterling Moss, Carbon E7 didn't make an appearance in the remaster, but it did merge all of the DLC content from the consoles into the PC version. Cars such as the Lamborghinis, Porsches, and etc. In the previous titles, you were only able to use equipment on the cop side, but now you can do it from both sides. Racers have their own set of weapons such as EMP, jammers, spikes, and turbos, while the cops have similar equipment with heli spikes and roadblocks added as well. You start from level 1 for each weapon, but the more you use it over time, it will gradually upgrade to the max level. The handling in this game is a little bit weird to get used to at first. The developers assumed you probably played the previous Burnout games, so you would be familiar with brake to drift mechanics, but if you haven't, you will probably be using the handbrake a lot on every corner until you get adjusted to it. Let's talk a bit about the differences between both versions. Quite frankly, there isn't much to it, even though it's called a remastered version. You will mainly notice slight graphical changes, and in some cases, the 2010 version exceeds over the remastered version, and the car list and the events being changed up as well. One thing that the remastered version did, however, is revive the online mod, which also has crossplay into it, meaning you can play against Xbox players, PlayStation users, and even Nintendo Switch players. But there is some downside to this, mainly traffic cars popping in out of nowhere. The PlayStation version is desynced from the PC traffic, so occasionally you will see things like this. What the fuck? That shit scared me! Fucking traffic cars scared the shit out of me, man. It's only an issue with PlayStation users, not Xbox and Switch players. You have 5 game modes to choose from, that being Hot Pursuit, normal races, interceptors, which are just 1v1 events, Most Wanted, where you chase after one primary target while the other racers defend them, and arms races, which are normal events with weapons enabled. It is really fun to play with a group of friends, challenging each other and trying to win, and some people still to this day enjoy the online modes that this game offered. However, there are some significant flaws such as cheaters. How do you have an RGB car? How the fuck is that possible, man? This game doesn't have an anti-cheat system, so you can enable all kinds of speed-up cheats, unlimited ammo cheats, and won't get banned or anything like that, which ruins the experience for a lot of players that just want to have some fun. Despite all of these things, the original version back in 2010 was able to garner more positive praise than Need for Speed The Run, and ultimately Criterion would move on to make the future Need for Speed games, and they instantly got working on the next entry into the franchise. Now this game is where the downfall part slowly starts to become a thing. In 2012 we were introduced to Need for Speed Most Wanted, and when you hear the name Most Wanted 2012, you would assume that it would be some kind of sequel to the original Most Wanted. Similar gameplay maybe, Blacklist returning, but what we ultimately got was this. What? Where's he going, man? Oh, he's going. I want to follow him a little bit. Where is he gonna take us? He's really determined to go this path. Wait, can he push 3? He's pushing 3 cars! He killed his tires! What the fuck? I wasn't even alive for 2 seconds, man, and I get killed. Come on, man. How light is my car? Oh, God, this thing. What? How did I die there? What happened? Where are you? That counted as well. Instead of all that, we got this in the end result, which if you look at all the beta footage on YouTube is disappointing. To see such potential not fully worked on and get scrapped left a lot of the fans with sour taste. Let's get this out of the way. I do think this game is good, but not as a Need for Speed game. It's like the Shift series. They are called Need for Speed, but they feel like Project Cars before Project Cars became a thing. It doesn't belong in this lineup. This game is fun as a Burnout game, which by the way there is a mod that changes the loading screen to Burnout, which seems more appropriate. One big issue with this game is that there is just no progression in this entire game. Let's take the original Most Wanted for example. You lose your M3 and then you have to buy the slowest shitbox possible to work your way up again, and along the way you unlock better and quicker cars than before. There's nothing of that in here. You start the game in an Aston Martin, 5 minutes later you just jump into a Porsche. Then you jump into any supercar you find around the streets. I was playing this live on stream and it didn't take me even half an hour to get the fastest car in this game. There should have been some restrictions that would make you start from slower cars and gradually work your way up, but with this approach there isn't any excitement when you get a new car. Like you worked hard to get here and the game rewards you by unlocking faster cars. Also what it lacks is the customization options. You can only switch performance parts in here, which you unlock by doing events in the game, or if you have the DLCs for this game you unlock these parts for free. Did I mention this game has DLCs by any chance? The Maserati Stradale and the 2012 Carrera S are also available in multiplayer. You can now access the SL65s. The Caterham. The Ford F-150 was also a thing. Terminal Velocity, Movie Legends. You can now access the Slim Jim Dodge Charger. All Grand Touring sports cars, muscle race, SUV, exotic and everyday cars. This game itself costs less than all of these DLCs combined. I had to use a DLC unlocker because I'm not wasting my money on this. You get a new area unlock, which is the airport if you got the DLC. And let me ask you this. Does this actually look like an airport to you? Just genuine question. This feels more like a space station you would see in a sci-fi film. But nevertheless, you get access to it where you can obtain a DLC car. You can even get the M3 from the original game by doing just a simple 1-minute event. Oh yeah, this game has a most wanted list. A list of drivers with the fastest cars out there, and yeah, that's it. They have no name, no face, no nothing. So for this part, we will just call them generic users, and you have 10 of these generic users to defeat to be crowned the most wanted generic user in Fairhaven. These challenge events are littered with rubber bands. You pull a small gap on the AI? Nah, I'm gonna pull up my rocket engine and come back in a flash. Oh my god, he literally just slingshotted, man. Oh, come on. That is pure bullshit. Like, it's so obvious. Just Boom. While doing these events, you also get chased by the cops, which outside of these events are completely useless. You can get busted on the streets, but nothing happens. You don't lose your SP, you don't get a strike or anything like that. You just get teleported to some location. What is the point of having cops in the game when there's no fear of outrunning them or getting busted? They just simply exist in this game, not serving any real contributions to the game, and their AI, oh boy. If you're dead or alive, it doesn't matter. They're gonna bust you one way or another. Even at the cost of their own life. This can also be seen similarly with the racer AI. I'll give it that. Wait, what? He fucked up. That driver's a paid actor, man. What a shot. Wait, is he gonna recover? Oh, he recovered already. Your car is made of feathers, resulting in you seeing crash cams a lot of the times. The only real positive I can give to this game is its online aspect. It was actually fun to play with viewers like Hot Pursuit Remastered. You can make your own list of 5 events that you'll be competing in, normal races, some challenges if you fancy that, and etc. But other than that, there isn't much else to write home with this game. And in the end, Criterion was scrapped as the main developers for Need for Speed, and that role was given to Ghost Games, which we will talk about with the next game, Need for Speed Rivals. Up next is Need for Speed Rivals. This will be the first game from Ghost Games in collaboration with Criterion. Now going into this game, I have never played it before, and what I usually got told from people is that it's very similar to Hot Pursuit, and knowing that game was fun, I was expecting the same result here with better graphics, but boy was I wrong. Great stuff. Escape the cop. And I'm already dead. Damage critical, but I couldn't even avoid him, dude. What do you mean? That's lucky physics, man. So the main issue with this game is that physics are tied to your frame rate, so if you want the best and least buggiest experience, you need to play in 30 FPS. You can unlock it to 60, but the physics will tend to break a lot afterwards. The next big downside to this game is that it's always online. No. I didn't do anything, man. I didn't do anything. Seeing a lot of cops chasing after one user and somehow them starting a chase with me. When you do races, other people in your lobby can literally smash into you, even if they're not in it, and just in general cause a huge clusterfuck everywhere. Most of these events are similar to Hot Pursuit, so you won't notice a huge difference. The car selection in here is far less than Hot Pursuit, giving up to 20 cars for racer and cop careers. What didn't make sense to me was that some of these cars were only available in one side. Like the Porsche Carrera is only available on the cop side, but not on the racer side. There are numerous vehicles that have this, which I can't understand why, when in Hot Pursuit most vehicles were usable on both sides. And also the cars are so easy to get totaled. Let's take a look at this. Your day shall find them. Boom. Random cop. To progress in this game, you select a speed list which consists of challenges to complete in order to unlock the next chapter. But this ends up mostly feeling like a chore, like hitting a guy in the ass 5 times and bam, you've completed your objective, collect your reward. The most boring one was a mission where it just required you to drive for 10 kilometers. These are just so fucking boring, man. It's like, how do you call it, fetch missions in games. Go here, pick this up, come back. Excitement. Like, was there no other way to implement this shit? Just make it more fun or something? That alone shows the lack of interesting things you could be doing in this game. And honestly, I didn't stick around with this game for long because I just felt so bored playing this. The cop side was a little bit fun because I wasn't dying every 10 seconds, but even that, after a while, I just couldn't make myself continue with it. When I'm doing projects like this, I want to try and experience as much as I can so I can give a fair judgment on them, but with this game it was a true struggle to make myself play it. If you guys know some things that I missed in this segment, do correct me in the comments and give me your feedback on what you thought about it. I'd like to hear more about it, and this is where we move on to the infamous game that everybody loves in the Need for Speed series. Now let's talk about Need for Speed 2015. Wait, hold on a second. Sorry lads, that's it for 2015. This game is hated by most Need for Speed fans, but what are the reasons for that? Going into this game I had no prior knowledge about it, so it was a first time experience for me, and I think I can summarize the game in one sentence. This was the most boring and lifeless Need for Speed I've ever played in my life. Before this, I always just heard people talking shit about it, but not knowing why, so let me mention my reasons why I think it's the worst Need for Speed. Huh? That guy's a paid actor. From the start, you are given a few star cars to choose from, but it doesn't matter much what you pick since most cars handle pretty much the same. A front-wheel drive car like the Civic is going to act like a rear-wheel drive car. Cops are invincible in this game. No matter what you do, they can't die, so the only way to lose them is by outrunning them, which in this game is piss easy. It's like they gave the cops the brains of a toddler. They lose you in nanoseconds, so just like in Most Wanted, you have to babysit them so you don't lose them. Dude, I'm not even trying too much and the cop is barely doing anything to me. Is the cop dead? Wait, where the fuck are you at, sir? Get your slow ass over here, man. I have a fucking mission to do. Stop sleeping on the fucking job, man. I'm the one who has to do this for 2 minutes, man. There is no new gameplay introduced here apart from drift trains and toge. On the topic of that, the drifting in this game, I recommend using a grip build even for drift events, because drifting on drift builds is essentially like drifting on ice. It's unenjoyable and it makes you want to break half of your stuff in your room. The physics are terrible, the car feels very heavy because of the input delay while steering normally. You usually have to kick the car using the handbrake, and it's still not a certain way to make the steering reliable. The crash cams are annoying as before, and you see them quite often, quite similar to Most Wanted 2012's crash cams. The events are simple, but they are still boring to do, and after a bit of playtime, they will get stale. As you saw in the start of the segment, the servers are terrible. The beauty of online-only video games. This didn't happen just once, by the way. It happened 3 times. I only ended up playing this for 2 hours before I lost my will to continue, so the rest of this part was written by one of my viewers who actually enjoyed the CBT that this game offered. Now, the story of the game is decent. It revolves around you, the unknown racer, trying to help your 5 friends impress the icons of the racing world like Ken Block, Nakai-san, and etc. It's a story of a few friends having fun while trying to beat the best. The graphics in this game are probably the best the Need for Speed series has to offer. The car focus in this game is very strong, considering how the performance and visual upgrades look like. And also there's a Supra in this game. Rip Bozo Unbound. You can see the Need for Speed devs tried to give fans a nostalgia trip into the golden age of Black Box, and their series of games confirming this theory is the Eddie Challenge. 15 events, with the 15th one being a showdown between you and Eddie and some other racers fighting for the crown of Ventura Bay. What helps support the nostalgia even further is the introduction of some of the older pieces of Need for Speed soundtrack. For example, Hard Drivers by Extract makes a return in this challenge mode. On the other hand, the Prestige mode makes me want to rip my balls off. Prestige mode is a time trial-like mode in which you can compete in older races from the career mode to try to set the best time. The Prestige mode is almost impossible because you have to be perfect while the game stacks the cars against you. The stack deck is composed of online-only mode, causing you to miss checkpoints, resulting in ruined time, spawning of AI traffic, racers in front of you, making you suffer a crash cam, and unpredictable handling, to name a few. Overall, the game is a great love letter to car culture. Sadly, the game has many flaws, which deterred a lot of players from playing this game for longer than an hour, including myself. Okay, so after 2015, surely it can't get worse than that, right? So Need for Speed Payback was the next entry into the series, which got released in 2017. It vastly looks different compared to 2015, and it also introduces 3 new protagonists, which we will talk about a bit later. You are set in the desert of Fortune Valley with your crew who are about to get ready for a job, which is to hijack a high-value car, but along the way you learn your team got betrayed and everyone vanishes. 6 months later, your character is hungry for revenge and tries to take out on Navarro alone, but ultimately that backfires. Quite literally. You get back in touch with your old crew and form a plan on how to take down Navarro. The main event in this game is called the Outlaws Rush, which you need an invitation for to participate, and to do so you need to take down rival crews around Fortune Valley. Tyler is more focused on normal street races and drag events, while Mac is more the adventurous type going for drift and dirt leagues, while Jess sticks to undercover work. Now about the protagonists. As I said before, there are 3 of them: Tyler, Mac, and Jess. Mac is the fun type, always cracking a joke, messing around. Jess as well, but sometimes she can get serious. And then there's Tyler. Probably the worst character in this series, and the main reasons are his personality. He's way too stubborn, too cocky, gloating about how he's the best, and just never jokes around, making him such a boring person to hang around with and wishing you would be doing something else with the other characters. Another thing most people hated about this, as I showed at the start, is the upgrading system. All the parts are now put into these poker looking cards and you have to spin a literal slot machine to get better parts. Great decision, EA! And also microtransactions are a thing for some reason. So you want 250 at speed, give us 2.5 euros, 5 euros, 10, 20, 40, 50! I think I busted a nut looking at these prices, man. Holy. So in this game, you can spend your hard-earned money for these speed points that mostly just give you vanity items like neons, NOS colors, stuff like that, which is completely worthless to go for. Just like the whole idea of adding microtransactions in this game. But EA is EA, and they never change whatsoever. The map is very big, but in most cases, it feels rather empty to drive around. Similar to 2015, you will only notice a few cars at a time while driving around. You don't even notice the cops in the world. They're mostly designed to appear in the main missions and side stuff, but when it comes to free roam, they are non-existent. Some might like this, some might not, but it's hard to ignore this fact. The handling has been changed a bit, but it's still mostly the same brake to drift handling we've had before, which depends on you if you like it or not. There are handling mods out there like arcade or sim handling if you don't prefer the vanilla one, but in my experience it didn't feel that bad to drive around. When you're going really fast, you will mostly just be using the handbrake to manage around the corners, but for drifting events it was alright. And then we have the crash physics in this game. If that's not their best shot, then I am scared to know what it is. Overall, I think this game is okay-ish. It's a slight improvement over 2015, but it feels like a lot of unnecessary choices were made by corporate greed, such as the upgrade system and the microtransactions in this game. However, it did have a good foundation for the next game we are about to talk, which is Need for Speed Heat. The last Need for Speed at the time of recording this video is Need for Speed Heat. It used a lot of similar things that we saw in Payback and improved it in here. For starters, the upgrade system went back to a traditional way and not a slot machine style, and microtransactions weren't a thing. Although you could spend your money on the DLC or key to the map, which we will talk about later. Now, what do you do in this game? You're thrown into a race as a dude called Joe, who's racing hard but also getting chased by a lot of cops. Joe manages to win the event, but the cops weren't about to give up the chase and pursued him until eventually he crashed out and lost the car. This is where we are introduced to the antagonists in the game, Shaw and Mercer, who are very corrupt cops that take street racing cars and sell them for profit. Joe gets scared and leaves town, and Anna is left on her own. 6 months later is where you arrive to a garage owned by Lucas. When you pick your avatar, Lucas sells you a starter car and introduces you to the Speed Hunters Showdown. During the day, you can participate in the showdown events to earn money and customize your vehicles, while during the night, it's more dangerous because of the cops. You earn rep, which gives you higher levels and unlocks more cars and customization parts. The cops at the start can be tough, and if you underestimate them, you will get busted. The story is good, all the characters live up to their roles, especially the antagonists, making it interesting to play through. Most people enjoyed what the game had to offer compared to the recent games, and it was expected that it would get more content updates and DLCs introduced, but after only 6 months of support, EA disbanded Ghost Games, and the only DLC that this game ever got was a $5 McLaren F1. Afterwards, the game was left stranded without much to do. Thankfully, modders such as the Unite team kept working on this game, and over the past few years, Need for Speed Heat has gotten a lot more updates with newer cars, handling improvements, and etc. Speaking of handling, in the base game it used the brake to drift model that we had from previous titles with slight improvements but also downsides. Especially with drifting, it felt harder to get your car into a drift and hold it there for long periods of time. It felt like a downgrade compared to Payback's drifting overall. Also, a fun fact, if you want to get better at drift, try using the drag tires. Surprisingly, they are a lot better than the actual drift tires this game gives you. The cops have also been changed, making them a lot more aggressive than previous titles, but the performance doesn't scale as you gradually get a faster car. In the late game, you can outrun them quite easily. The damage system is a bit wonky. You lose a lot more health if you're hitting them, so it's best to just try and outrun them, but if you can't hit them and there aren't any pursuit breakers, how are you supposed to take them out? Quite simple, just drive on stun jumps and they will immediately crash. As for customization, they give you a lot of options to play around with. Most of the parts could be changed with something else, even the way the car sounds could be played around, which is pretty cool. This game had an online mode, but it wasn't like previous titles. Here you could just make lobbies and race with your friends, but trying to join one is painful to say the least. Me and my friends had to reset countless times just so someone else could join in, but they couldn't connect because the lobbies would be full relatively quick. Overall, it was definitely a step in the right direction moving forwards, and with the new Need for Speed Unbound around the corner, only time will tell how that game will perform and will it carry over a lot of things from Heat. With the black box and modern era covered, the only thing left is to cover the start of the Need for Speed series, which I plan to do next year. But for now, I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know your feedback if you liked or disliked my opinions on these games, and do tell me your thoughts about these games in the comments below. Thank you to the people over on my Twitch channel that helped me out with this video. You can find the link to my Twitch in the description. Thank you to the Patreon supporters on the screen for supporting my content and not letting me starve to death. And you guys for watching this video. I hope you have a wonderful day and stay safe as always. Peace.